The alarm bells rang through New Geneva Station like thunder. Commander Jin Seo-yoon ran down the bright hallways, her boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. She had never heard these alarms before. Nobody had. The galaxy had been at peace for 6,000 years. The council chamber was full of panic when Jin arrived. Hundreds of alien representatives spoke at once in dozens of languages. Their voices mixed together into a terrible noise of fear. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Zethkar, his green scales shining under the lights. His reptilian face showed worry that Jin had never seen before. "Order! We need order!" shouted Council Leader Vorth, slamming his crystal staff on the floor. The room slowly became quiet. "Ambassador Zethkar, tell us what you know." Zethkar stepped forward. His voice was steady, but Jin could hear the fear underneath. 3 star systems in the Outer Rim have gone silent. Not just their governments or militaries. Everything. Every planet, every station, every ship, they are all gone. A wave of shocked whispers moved through the chamber. Jin felt cold fear in her stomach. 3 entire star systems meant billions of lives. How could they all just disappear? "Gone how?" asked Admiral Vextara, her insect-like mandibles clicking together. The Admiral was known for her calm mind and strong military experience. If she was worried, things were very bad. "We sent scout ships," Zethkar continued. "They found empty space where the planets should be. No debris, no radiation, no signs of battle. The stars are still there, but everything else is just gone." The chamber erupted into noise again. Representatives shouted questions and fears. Some spoke of running away. Others demanded immediate military action. Jin listened to it all and felt something strange. Deep in her mind, old instincts were waking up. Instincts that her people had buried long ago. "What about our defense fleets?" Admiral Vextara asked when the room grew quiet again. Zethkar's shoulders dropped. "We sent the 5th Battle Group to investigate. They were the best ships we had, with the newest weapons and shields. We lost contact with them 6 hours ago. Before the signal died, they sent one message: enemy beyond our understanding. Weapons ineffective. They are coming." Fear filled the room like a cold wind. The 5th Battle Group had over 200 ships and the most advanced technology in the galaxy. If they could not even slow down whatever was coming, what could? "We need to evacuate the outer systems," said someone from the back. "Where would we go?" replied another voice. "If they can destroy entire star systems, nowhere is safe." Jin stood up slowly. All eyes turned to her, and she felt the weight of their attention. As the human representative, she spoke for Earth and all human colonies. But right now, she felt very small and very young. "The humans have experience with difficult enemies," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We have archives. Old records from before the peace. Maybe we can find something useful." Several aliens made sounds that showed doubt. The Korthok representative, a tall blue being with 4 arms, spoke up. "No offense, Commander, but human military technology is 6,000 years old. You have been diplomats and peacemakers for so long. What could you possibly have that our modern fleets cannot handle?" Other voices agreed. Jin knew what they thought. Humans were good at talking and making peace. They were not warriors anymore. They had not been warriors for a very long time. Most aliens believed that humans had only survived in the galaxy because they were lucky and good at making friends. "I understand your doubts," Jin said. "But our ancestors kept detailed records. They prepared for many different types of threats. Please, give us time to check our archives." Before anyone could answer, new alarms began ringing. The main display screen lit up with urgent messages. More star systems were going dark. The Outer Rim was being consumed by something that moved faster than their fastest ships. "It is spreading," whispered Admiral Vextara. "At this rate, it will reach the core systems in less than a month. Jin felt her communicator vibrate. She looked down and saw an encrypted message from Earth. The sender was listed as Archive Authority, Priority Alpha. She had never seen that designation before. The message was short. Old protocols activating. Return to Earth immediately. The sleepers are stirring. K. M. Jin's blood went cold. She knew those initials. Kaya Minjun was one of the archive keepers, the humans who maintained the old records. But he was supposed to be just a librarian. Why was he sending military priority messages? Commander Jin, Council Leader Vorth said, you have 24 hours to find something in your archives. After that, we begin full evacuation of the outer systems. Jin nodded and stood to leave. As she walked toward the door, she heard Ambassador Zethkar speak quietly to Admiral Vex Tara. Do you really think the humans have anything that can help? They have not fought a real war in 6,000 years. The Admiral's reply made Jin stop walking. I have studied human history. Zethkar. All of it. Not just the peaceful parts. There are things in their past that they do not talk about. Things that made them choose peace. Maybe it is time we learned why. Jin left the chamber with those words ringing in her ears. As her ship prepared for the jump to Earth, she accessed the human historical database. What she found in the restricted files made her hands shake. Humanity had not chosen peace because they were weak. They had chosen peace because they were too strong, too dangerous, too good at war. And now, something was coming that might force them to remember what they really were. The stars outside her window seemed different as her ship jumped to hyperspace. They looked like the eyes of sleeping giants, waiting to wake up. Jin hoped the galaxy was ready for what it might see when humanity opened its eyes. Earth looked the same as always when Jin's ship approached. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. It was hard to believe that this peaceful world held secrets that might save the galaxy. But as her ship entered the atmosphere, Jin noticed things she had never seen before. Strange energy signatures were coming from deep underground. Old satellites were powering up after thousands of years of silence. The Archive Authority building stood in the Swiss mountains, looking like any other government office. Jin had been there many times for routine historical research. Today felt different. The guards at the entrance scanned her with equipment she did not recognize. Their faces were serious in ways she had never seen. Commander Jin So-yun, said the lead guard. Elder Kaya Min-jun is waiting for you in Archive, Level 7. Jin stopped walking. Level 7? I thought the building only had 6 levels. The guard smiled, but it was not a happy smile. There are many things about this building that most people do not know. Please follow me. They took an elevator that went down much farther than Jin expected. When the doors opened, she found herself in a vast underground chamber, filled with strange machines. The air hummed with energy that made her skin feel tingly. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams that hurt to look at directly. Elder Kaya Min-jun stood in the center of it all. He was much older than Jin remembered, with white hair and deep lines on his face. But his eyes were sharp and alert. When he saw her, he smiled sadly. Hello, Jin. I am sorry you have to see this place. I had hoped our generation would never need to come here. I had hoped our generation would never need to come here. Elder Kaya, what is this place? What are all these machines? What? This is the Deep Archive. The place where we keep the things humanity decided to forget. He walked to a large display, showing the galaxy. Red markers showed where the unknown enemy had struck. But forgetting and destroying are different things. We kept everything, just in case. Jin stared at the display. The red markers were spreading faster than the reports had indicated. How bad is it? Very bad. We have been monitoring the situation since the first attacks. This enemy is not like anything the galaxy has faced before. They exist partially outside normal space and time. They consume entire realities to feed themselves. How do you know all this? The Council's best scientists cannot figure out what they are. Kaya's face became very serious. Because we have fought them before. Not us personally, but our ancestors. 6,000 years ago, humanity faced something very similar. We called them the Void Seekers then. The same type of enemy, just from a different dead universe. Jin felt sick. We destroyed them. Completely. But the cost was terrible. Kaya touched the controls, and new images appeared. Jin saw pictures of space battles that looked impossible. Human ships that seemed to bend reality around them. Weapons that created black holes and tore holes in space itself. Jin, do you know why humanity really chose peace 6,000 years ago? Because we grew tired of war. Because we wanted to help other species instead of fighting them. Kaya shook his head. We chose peace because we were too good at war. We were so good at it that we scared ourselves. We had become something that other species were right to fear. New images showed destroyed planets and broken star systems. But these were not from the current attacks. These were from human weapons, used against human enemies. We nearly destroyed ourselves, Kaya continued. Our weapons were so powerful that we could rewrite the laws of physics. We could turn matter into energy with a thought. We could make entire fleets disappear by convincing the universe they never existed. Jin stared at the images. These are human ships doing this? Yes. And we realized that we had become monsters. So, we made a choice. We sealed away our weapons and our warrior nature. We became diplomats and peacemakers. We decided to protect the galaxy by protecting it from ourselves. But you kept the weapons. We kept everything. Hidden, sealed, watched over by people like me. We hoped we would never need them again. Kaya's eyes were sad but determined. But some threats can only be met with equal force. Alarms began ringing throughout the chamber. A new display showed urgent messages from across human space. Jin read them with growing horror. The outer colonies are gone, she said quietly. All of them. In the last 6 hours. Then it is time. Kaya walked to a console that looked different from the others. Ancient symbols covered its surface. Jin, I need to tell you about the Sentinel. What is the Sentinel? Our ultimate weapon. Not a ship, or a bomb, or a gun. It is a living consciousness. We took the minds of our greatest military leaders and merged them with our most advanced computers. The Sentinel is what happens when humanity's greatest strategic minds become one with technology that can reshape reality. Jin felt cold. Where is it? Sleeping. It has been sleeping for 6,000 years, dreaming of peace. But it is still there, waiting, under the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that exists in 7 dimensions at once. You want to wake it up. I want to give the galaxy a chance to survive. But waking the Sentinel means waking all of humanity's old nature. We will not be the same people afterward. The peaceful, diplomatic humans that other species know will be gone forever. Jin thought about the red markers spreading across the galaxy. She thought about billions of dead aliens in the outer rim. She thought about her friends in the Galactic Council, probably preparing to evacuate their homeworlds. What do you need from me? Authorization. The Sentinel can only be awakened by unanimous consent from all human colonies and stations. Every human community must vote yes. No exceptions. How long do we have? The enemy will reach the core systems in 18 days. The voting process will take at least 10 days to complete. If we are going to do this, we need to start now. Jin looked at the displays showing the spreading destruction. Then, she looked at the images of what humanity used to be. Both choices led to terrible things. But one choice led to survival. Send the authorization request to all human communities. Tell them the truth. Tell them what we used to be and what we might become again. Let them decide. Kaya nodded and began working at the console. There is something else you should know. The Sentinel is not just a weapon. It is also a guardian. When it wakes up, it will judge whether humanity is worthy of this power. If it decides we are not, it will destroy us instead of the enemy. Why? Because that is what we programmed it to do. We were so afraid of what we might become that we created something to stop us if we went too far. Jin watched the authorization requests go out to human colonies across the galaxy. Soon, every human alive would know the truth about their species' past. They would have to choose between comfortable peace and necessary war. Kaya, do you think we will make the right choice? The old man looked at the spreading destruction on the displays. I think humanity always makes the choice that protects others, even when it hurts us. That is why the Sentinel will probably let us live. Probably. Jin hoped that would be enough. The voting had been going on for 7 days. Jin watched the results come in from human colonies across the galaxy, each one appearing on the massive displays in the deep archive. Some communities voted yes immediately after learning the truth. Others took longer, arguing about whether humanity should return to its warrior past. Meanwhile, the enemy continued their advance. 3 more major systems had gone silent. The Galactic Council was preparing for mass evacuation of the inner worlds. Admiral Vextara had sent Jin desperate messages asking for any human assistance. But Jin could only tell her to wait. New Kyoto colony has voted yes, reported Kaya, watching the data streams. That makes 237 communities in favor, 15 against, and 42 still voting. Jin rubbed her tired eyes. She had not slept in 3 days. What about the Mars Industrial Complex? They have been arguing for 2 days. Still debating. They are scared of what we might become. I understand their fear. The main display suddenly lit up with an emergency signal from the Galactic Council. Jin accepted the transmission, and Admiral Vextara's face appeared, her compound eyes wide with panic. Jin, thank the stars you are there. We just lost the Centauri Defense Fleet. All 400 ships, gone in minutes. Whatever these things are, they are learning to fight better. How close are they to the core systems? 8 days. Maybe less if they keep accelerating. The Council is voting to abandon everything beyond the inner rim. We are going to try to make a final stand around Earth, Vega Prime, and the other core worlds. Jin felt sick. Earth would become a battleground. Admiral, we are working on something, but we need more time. What kind of something? Jin, I need to know what humanity is planning. The other species are starting to panic. Some of them are talking about surrendering to save their populations. Before Jin could answer, alarms rang through the deep archive. Jin, we have a problem. The enemy just made contact. Contact? With whom? Contact? With whom? With everyone. They are broadcasting on all frequencies, all languages, directly into the minds of every sentient being in the galaxy. The voice that filled the chamber was like the sound of dying stars. It spoke in perfect English, but Jin knew it was speaking to everyone in their own language at the same time. We are the devourers of realities. We have consumed 1,000 galaxies across 13 universes. Your resistance is noted but irrelevant. You may choose quick dissolution or slow consumption. Those are your only options. You have 7 of your days to decide. The voice stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse than the terrible words. Admiral, Jin said to Vextara, tell the Council that humanity needs 3 more days. No matter what happens, do not surrender. Jin, what are you not telling me? Jin looked at Kaya, who nodded slowly. It was time for the truth. Humanity used to be very different than we are now. We were warriors who could fight enemies like this. We sealed that part of ourselves away, but we kept the weapons and knowledge. If enough humans vote yes, we can wake up our greatest weapon. Vextara's mandibles clicked rapidly. What kind of weapon? The kind that can fight impossible enemies with impossible tactics. But if we wake it up, humanity will change. We might not be the peaceful species you know anymore. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Jin, I have studied your people's history. All of it. I know what you used to be capable of. If you can stop these devourers, then do it. The galaxy needs protectors, not diplomats. The transmission ended. Jin stared at the voting results. They were close, but not close enough. 42 human communities were still undecided. Kaya, show me the Deep Pacific facility. The display changed to show live feeds from the ocean floor. Even through the cameras, Jin could see that something was stirring down there. The water itself seemed to bend around a massive structure that existed in too many dimensions to fully understand. It knows, Kaya said quietly. The Sentinel knows. We might wake it up. It is already beginning to dream of war instead of peace. What happens when it fully wakes up? First, it will analyze the enemy. Then, it will begin producing weapons and strategies that can defeat them. But it will also begin changing humanity back into what we used to be. Every human in the galaxy will feel their peaceful nature being replaced by something older and more dangerous. Jin's communicator chimed with an urgent message. It was from the human colony on Kepler Prime. We vote yes. We have seen what these devourers do to peaceful people. We choose to become warriors again, if that is what it takes to save the galaxy. More messages began flooding in. Colony after colony changed their votes to yes. The news of the devourers' ultimatum was spreading, and humans across the galaxy were making the same choice. Looks like the threat of extinction focuses the mind, Kaya said with a grim smile. Within hours, the final votes came in. 294 human communities voted yes. 0 voted no. The few who had been against changed their minds when they learned about the ultimatum. Unanimous consent achieved, Kaya announced. All authorization codes are green. The Sentinel can be awakened. All are, Kaya. Reezing. Jin looked at the Deep Pacific facility one more time. Strange lights were beginning to glow in the depths. The water around the structure was starting to move in patterns that did not follow normal physics. Do it, she said. Kaya placed his hand on the ancient console. Sentinel Protocol Omega. Full authorization. Granted. Wake up, old guardian. The galaxy needs you. The response was immediate. Every screen in the deep archive lit up with data streams that moved too fast for human eyes to follow. The facility in the Pacific began to rise, pushing through rock and water and space itself. Then, a voice spoke. It was human, but older than any human alive. It carried the wisdom of a dozen military geniuses and the power to reshape reality. I am awake. I see the enemy. I understand the threat. Beginning immediate analysis and response protocol. The voice paused, and Jin felt something change inside her mind. Old instincts were awakening. Tactical knowledge that her species had buried was surfacing. She was becoming something she had never been before. Humanity, the Sentinel continued. Prepare for war. You will not be the same when this is over. Do you accept this price? Jin felt the question in her mind. And she knew every human in the galaxy was feeling it too. The choice was final. Peace or survival. Innocence or victory. We accept, she said, and heard her words echoed by millions of human voices across the stars. Then let us begin. The Devourers have never faced an enemy like us. It is time they learned why humanity chose peace 6,000 years ago. It was not because we were weak. It was because we were too strong. Reality began to bend around Earth as the Sentinel fully awakened. Jin felt the change happening inside her mind like ice water in her veins. Knowledge that had been buried for 6,000 years was surfacing. She knew how to calculate attack vectors for weapons that bent space-time. She understood tactics for fighting enemies that existed in multiple dimensions. Most disturbing of all, she wanted to use this knowledge. Across the galaxy, every human was experiencing the same transformation. Peaceful farmers remembered how to operate reality-warping cannons. Gentle teachers found themselves planning military campaigns that spanned star systems. Children as young as 10 began drawing battle formations for wars fought with mathematics and controlled paradoxes. The Sentinel's facility had fully emerged from the Pacific Ocean. It was a structure that hurt to look at directly, existing in 7 dimensions while appearing to be a simple, black pyramid. Ships were launching from its impossible interior, vessels that should not be able to fly but somehow moved faster than light without using any known propulsion. "Status report," Jin demanded as she entered the war room that had spontaneously appeared in the deep archive. She was not surprised that she knew exactly how to operate the tactical displays that had not existed an hour ago. "Human military assets are coming online across all colonies," reported Elder Kaya, his peaceful demeanor replaced by the cold efficiency of a master strategist. "Dormant facilities are activating. Sealed weapons caches are being accessed. Our people are remembering how to be what we used to be." The main display showed the galaxy with new markers. Blue dots indicated human military installations that were powering up after millennia of sleep. There were far more of them than Jin had expected. How many facilities did we hide? 17,000 major installations. Nearly 1 million smaller ones. We were very thorough about preparing for the possibility that peace might not last forever. Admiral Vex Tara's face appeared on the communication screen. The insectoid officer looked amazed and frightened at the same time. "Jin, what are your people doing? We are detecting energy signatures around human worlds that are off all our scales. Some of your ships are reading as existing in negative mass. That should be impossible. Admiral, we are preparing to fight the Devourers. We recommend that all non-human fleets withdraw to safe distances. Our weapons are about to become very dangerous to be around." "How dangerous?" Jin checked the tactical reports flowing in from across human space. "Our lightest weapons can now erase matter from existence. Our heavy weapons can convince the universe that our enemies were never born. I suggest at least 10 light-year clearance around any human military operation." Vex Tara's compound eyes widened. "Jin, that level of destructive power. Why did humanity ever give this up?" "Oh, because we were too good at it. We scared ourselves into choosing peace." The Sentinel's voice filled the command center. "Enemy analysis complete. The Devourers are echoes of a universe that was consumed by entropy. They exist by stealing reality from functional universes. Standard physics cannot affect them because they are already dead in every way that matters." "How do we fight them?" Jin asked. "With weapons that are also impossible. We will use paradox against paradox. Impossibility against impossibility. I am designing armaments that should not be able to exist. Fortunately, humanity has always specialized in doing things that should be impossible." New displays showed weapon designs that made Jin's enhanced mind ache to comprehend. Cannons that fired crystallized time. Missiles that traveled backward through cause and effect. Ships armored with materialized hope and powered by controlled despair. How long until the first weapons are ready? They are ready now. I have been building them in the spaces between seconds for the past 17 minutes. Human fleets are being equipped as we speak. Jin looked at the tactical display. The Devourers had resumed their advance after delivering their ultimatum, but their movement was slowing. Something was making them cautious. "They can sense us," the Sentinel explained. "They have never encountered a reality-based species that could threaten them. They are confused. This confusion is our advantage. What are your orders? We begin with a demonstration. The first human fleet will engage the Devourers at the Vega system. We will show them that this galaxy has guardians who fight with weapons they cannot understand. Jin felt excitement and terror in equal measure. The peaceful part of her mind was horrified by what they were about to do. The newly awakened warrior part of her mind was eager to begin. Admiral Vextara, we recommend you observe from at least 15 light-years distance. What you are about to see may be disturbing. The Admiral nodded. We will be watching. Jin, good hunting. The first human fleet materialized around Vega Prime without traveling there. One moment the space was empty. The next, it was filled with ships that seemed to be made of crystallized starlight and controlled chaos. Jin watched through sensors that could perceive 17 different dimensions simultaneously. The Devourers were waiting. They appeared as tears in space itself, wounds in reality that consumed light and matter and time. They began their usual attack pattern, reaching out to drain the life from the Vega system. Then they encountered the first human fleet. The battle that followed could not be properly described in normal language. Human ships fired weapons that convinced the Devourers they had never existed. The enemy responded by trying to erase the human ships from causality itself. Both attacks worked and failed at the same time, creating paradoxes that reality had to constantly resolve. Jin watched a human destroyer convince a Devourer that it was actually a small flower. The Devourer immediately became a flower, but continued to exist as a reality-consuming entity, creating a paradox that exploded in 7 dimensions and somehow healed the damage the Devourer had done to local space-time. A Devourer managed to erase 3 human cruisers from existence, but the cruisers refused to stop existing and began firing weapons from the state of non-being. Their impossible shots hit Devourers that were attempting to not be real, causing both sides to become more real than reality could normally support. This is insane, Jin breathed. This is war at the level we need to fight it, the Sentinel replied. The Devourers cannot be defeated by normal means. We must be more impossible than they are. The battle lasted 3 hours and 17 minutes. When it ended, the Devourers had been forced to retreat. More importantly, they had been hurt. Several of them had been destroyed completely, their existence unraveled in ways that prevented them from reconstituting themselves. First victory achieved, the Sentinel announced. The enemy now knows they face an opponent who can threaten them. They will adapt. So will we. Jin looked at the aftermath of the battle. Space around Vega was actually healthier than before. The impossible energies released by human weapons had somehow strengthened the fabric of reality instead of damaging it. How is that possible? Our weapons are designed to protect reality even as they destroy our enemies. This is the difference between humanity and the forces of entropy. We create even when we destroy. Admiral Vextara's voice came over the communication system. Jin, we observed the battle. What we saw, it should not be possible. Your weapons seem to be fighting the concept of destruction itself. That is exactly what they were doing. Admiral, the real war is just beginning. The Devourers will return with new strategies. We need to be ready. Jin felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. She was no longer just a diplomatic liaison. She had become something humanity had not needed for 6,000 years. A war leader in a conflict that would determine whether reality itself survived. The galaxy had wanted protectors. Now they would see what human protection looked like when unleashed without limits. Jin hoped they would still want it when the war was over. The final battle began in the space between galaxies, where reality was thin and the Devourers felt strongest. Jin stood in the command center of the Sentinel's flagship, a vessel that existed in so many dimensions that looking out its windows showed 17 different views of the universe simultaneously. 3 months had passed since the first battle at Vega. The war had spread across the galaxy, as the Devourers adapted to humanity's impossible tactics. They had learned to fight paradox with paradox, bringing weapons from dead universes that consumed the concept of existence itself. Humanity had responded by becoming even more impossible. The Sentinel had created weapons made from crystallized mathematics and artillery shells filled with concentrated hope. Human Marines fought with armor forged from the idea of protection and rifles that shot bullets made of pure determination. But the cost was becoming clear. Every human who used these weapons became a little less human and a little more something else. Children were being born with the ability to see 17 dimensions at once. Adults found themselves thinking in languages that predated reality. The peaceful species that other races had known was disappearing forever. Final phase begins now. The Sentinel announced across all human channels. All fleets converge on coordinates 000. We end this today. Thanks for watching. Jin watched as human ships from across the galaxy appeared in the emptiness between spiral arms. There were millions of them. Vessels that defied every known law of physics. Some were built from crystallized time. Others appeared to be constructed from controlled explosions that never quite finished happening. The Devourers were waiting. They had gathered their full force here, creating a wound in space so large that it was consuming entire nebulae. At their center was something that Jin's enhanced senses identified as the Prime Devourer, the first and strongest of their kind. Sentinel, Jin said. Can we win this? Victory is possible. But the price will be everything we have become. To defeat an enemy this absolute, we must become equally absolute. Are you prepared for that cost? Jin thought about the peaceful galaxy they had protected for 6,000 years. She thought about children playing safely on 1,000,000 worlds. She thought about the price of letting the Devourers consume everything. Do it. The Sentinel's response was felt by every human in the galaxy. Their warrior transformation completed itself in seconds. Peaceful farmers became tactical geniuses who understood 17 different types of warfare. Gentle artists found themselves designing weapons that could kill concepts. Even the youngest children began to think in terms of strategy and survival. But Jin realized something else was happening. The Sentinel was changing too, becoming more than just humanity's weapon. It was becoming humanity's judge. I must determine if humanity deserves to survive this transformation, the Sentinel announced. If you have become too dangerous, I will end you along with the Devourers. What are you talking about? This is what you programmed me to do 6,000 years ago. To prevent humanity from becoming monsters, even if it meant destroying you. The final test begins now. The battle erupted across 17 dimensions simultaneously. Human fleets fought with weapons that rewrote the laws of physics in real time. Devourers responded by bringing cannons that fired concentrated entropy and missiles filled with the concept of ending. Jin watched ships trade impossibility for impossibility. She saw human destroyers convince Devourers that they were actually beneficial to reality, causing the entropy beings to heal the universe instead of consuming it. She witnessed Devourer flagships erase human battle groups from existence, only for those ships to return firing from the state of never having been born. But through it all, the Sentinel was watching humanity's behavior. Jin realized it was not just judging their power, but their choices. How they used their impossible weapons. Whether they showed mercy when possible. If they remembered to protect others even while fighting for survival. The tide turned when Admiral Vextara's message reached the human fleet. Her non-human vessels had been hiding in normal space, watching the battle with sensors that could barely perceive what was happening. Jin, her voice said over channels that existed in negative time, we see what your people are doing. You are not just fighting to destroy the Devourers. You are fighting to save reality itself. Every weapon you use makes the universe stronger instead of weaker. This is not the behavior of monsters. The Sentinel's voice filled Jin's mind with sudden warmth. Judgment complete. Humanity remains worthy. You have not forgotten that your strength exists to protect others. The final protocol is authorized. Jin felt every human in the galaxy suddenly understand what the final protocol meant. They were going to win, but the cost would be that humanity could never go back to being peaceful. They would become the galaxy's permanent guardians, always ready for threats like this. The Prime Devourer made its final move, reaching out to consume the concept of hope itself. If it succeeded, no sentient being would ever feel hope again, making resistance impossible. Humanity's response was swift and absolute. Every human ship, every weapon, every tactical genius, connected through the Sentinel, focused on a single goal. They did not try to destroy the Prime Devourer. Instead, they convinced the universe that it had always been something else. The transformation was beautiful and terrible. The Prime Devourer became the concept of renewal instead of consumption. All the other Devourers, connected to their Prime through quantum entanglement, became forces of healing instead of destruction. The wounds they had torn in reality began to close. The systems they had consumed began to return. The war was over. The Devourers still existed, but they were no longer destroyers. They had become builders, spreading life instead of death as they moved through the cosmos. Jin found herself crying as she realized what they had accomplished. They had not just won a war, they had redeemed their enemies, turning forces of entropy into forces of creation. "Status report," she said, wiping away her tears. "All hostile forces neutralized and converted," the Sentinel replied. "Reality damage is healing. The galaxy is safe. And humanity? Changed forever. We can never return to what we were. But perhaps that is appropriate. The galaxy needs guardians who understand both peace and war. We will watch over the stars, always ready but hoping never to be needed." Jin looked at the tactical displays, showing human fleets dispersing to their new guardian positions throughout the galaxy. Some would remain hidden, watching for new threats. Others would work openly with alien governments, providing protection and guidance. Admiral Vextara's face appeared on the communication screen. The insectoid officer's compound eyes were bright with respect and gratitude. "Commander Jin, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank humanity for its sacrifice. You have saved us all. But you have paid a price that can never be repaid." "The price was worth it," Jin replied. "The galaxy has peace again. That is all we ever wanted. What will humanity do now?" Jin looked out at the stars, seeing them with senses that perceived 17 dimensions at once. She could detect potential threats that were still millions of years away. She could see the patterns of cosmic development that would shape the galaxy's future. "We will do what we have always done. We will stand guard. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. And we will remember that our strength exists to serve others, not ourselves." The Sentinel's voice came one last time. "The galaxy is safe. The Guardians are in position. Let peace reign for as long as possible. But when war comes again, humanity will be ready." Jin smiled as she looked at the peaceful stars, knowing that children across the galaxy could play safely because humanity had chosen to be their protectors. They had given up their innocence so others could keep theirs. It was a fair trade. It was what humans had always done and what they would always do. The galaxy was in good hands.